If you're a stressed out, burned out, worn out executive or professional or entrepreneur, my guest today is going to talk about real life strategies on how to bring your life back together, especially if maybe you're doing really well in business, but your health and your fitness is suffering and gone by the wayside and you don't feel the way that you want to. My guest today, Diana, is going to talk about that. She's written a book called Business of Your Body. And in this book, she specifically talks about a high-performance professional and the non-congruence with being out of shape and not being in your optimal health and how to get there. So great conversation. She has a wonderful spirit about her and just openly shares. Here you go. Diana is a seasoned entrepreneur, a fitness expert, 5-time author, and motivational speaker who is passionate about empowering people to build strength in mind, body, and spirit. As a 2-time world champion fitness athlete, Diana is committed to arming her clients with the tools they need to embrace whole body well-being, and she's personally coached thousands of people around the globe to transform their lifestyles and achieve their fitness goals. She is the co-owner and the co-CEO of Hitch Fit gyms and online personal training, as well as Soul Fit retreats, and she blends her love of fitness with her extensive business acumen to help people succeed in both their personal and professional lives. That's a heck of an intro, man. Wow.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. You've done a lot. You've done a lot. So before we dive in, and I love that you're on here because we talk so much about business on this show, but the show is really business, health, and wealth. And health, as you know, and you've written about, is so vitally important to people's overall wealth, if you will, their wealth in life. And would love for you to talk a little bit more about how you got started on this and how this journey began for you, for your love of health and fitness and how to help people, especially executives, professionals, which is what you specialize in.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me, Roger, and thank you for that question. For me, it started with my own transformation journey. So I actually had to go through this entire process of learning how to take care of my health, my body, my mind, myself, in order to be able to help other people do it for themselves too. So if I take it back to when I went through my transformation, I was at a point in life where I was overeating, I was drinking a lot, I was really feeling not well in my body. I had a lot of emotional binge eating behaviors where I would do what a lot of women do, and I would starve myself all day, and then at night I would just have a massive binge fest, and then wake up the next day feeling guilty, feeling bloated, feeling sick. And it was this pattern that I actually felt really stuck in. I felt trapped by the behavior. I felt like there was nothing I could do to control it. I felt like it controlled me, which I now know was really just a lot of mindset work that I had to do. But I just came to this point where I had these big dreams and these goals. I wanted to do things within the fitness industry. I wanted to own my own gym. I wanted to do all of these things that I knew if I didn't actually start taking care of my body first and treating my body like my business, then I wasn't actually going to be able to be successful in all of these other things. So I had a moment, and I call it my Independence Day. It was July 5th of 2005. So it was right after, the U.S. Independence Day, and I had gone out the night before. I had eaten McDonald's. I had drank a bunch of beer, and I was working in a gym. I was a personal trainer, and I went into the gym hungover, bloated, feeling disgusted. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing to myself? And I was so sick and tired of feeling like that and looking like that. And a lot of women will also understand, like, I would go in my closet and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to wear because nothing fit. I would look at myself in the mirror and I didn't even recognize the reflection looking back at me. And I was so sick and tired of feeling that way. I had a friend say to me that day 5 words that completely shifted my mindset. And he said, "Hey, Diana, I saw that, you were interested in doing fitness competitions." And he said, "What are you waiting for?" And I'm telling you, those 5 words in that moment with where I was, it clicked my brain. It switched that switch for me that I needed switched so badly. And I was like, I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer anymore for that, because before it would have been excuses. It would have been like, oh, I like food too much. I like this too much. I don't have time for that, blah, blah, blah. in that moment, everything switched, and my life has been completely different since that day. I changed my eating habits. I started learning, and I took courses, and I hired 2 coaches for myself, because even though I was coaching people, I needed coaches to hold me accountable, to teach me these things that I didn't know. And fast forward, I ended up losing the weight. For me, my motivation was I wanted to do fitness competitions. That's not going to be everybody's motivation, but for me, that was the thing that was like, kept me laser focused on where I wanted to go. I ended up losing over 50 pounds. I ended up winning my first show, which gave me this, oh, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. And, you know, it's led from there. If I had not made those choices then, not only would I not have won the shows, and which led to, you know, being able to be in magazines, that led to meeting my husband, that led to starting Hitch Fit, which is our gyms and our online personal training business, where we've literally been able to now help thousands of people globally in 82 countries. Now I've been able to help them transform their lives. So it's just this beautiful ripple effect, but it had to start with me. If I had not made that choice and had that switch in my brain of like, no, I'm going to lead a different life, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, crazy. That's the way it unfolds. It's always amazing. That's why I love asking that question, just to get started. So you and your husband launched your business, Hitch Fit, online, and I'd love to find out why you decided to launch that online.
So we're actually some of the OGs of online personal training. And when we started, it was in early February of 2009 was when we actually officially launched Hitch Fit, the online personal training site. We'd been doing online training a little bit, dabbling with it, trying to figure it out. And kind of the idea came to my husband. He, well, you remember MySpace. So we met back in the MySpace days, which a lot of the younger generation, they're like, MySpace, what's that? I'm like, okay, that was the place to be back in the day. But he had a woman reach out to him on MySpace saying, oh, I really wish I could work with you, but I live in Canada. And he was like, well, what if I put together a plan for you like I do for my clients here? And, you know, I can email it to you, and then you can follow it, and then just check in with me through email, and let's just see if that works. And it was just like, let's just see, like, maybe this actually works. That lady did it. She ended up, I think she lost about 30 pounds, and then she shared her story, and it was like, whoa, like, we're onto something. Like, people don't actually have to be in the gym with us to have a transformation. And that was unheard of. Like, for the first couple of years of Hitch Fit, we had people like, we had to explain what online personal training was over and over and over again, because they were like, what do you mean we don't come into the gym? What do you mean that we're not with you in person? And now it's like the norm, like, you know, it's everywhere. It's a totally saturated market. But back then it was just this kind of idea of like, wait, I think this could work. I think we can actually help more people than we can work with in the gyms. And, you know, we're both entrepreneurs, so we just loved the creativity of it and being able to build something and try things and see what worked and what didn't. And it's 15 years later, and, you know, it's still a very strong business. Like, we've stayed very consistent to our core. We still personally work with each of our online clients. It's not automated. We never brought in a whole bunch of other people, because it's just maintained such an intimacy and connection with our clients, which is why we still have such a high success rate. So we did it because it was a way that we could impact far more people. And, you know, it obviously was a good idea because now everybody's doing it.
Let's just touch on that though. Diana, you were at the very beginning of an industry that is now hyper saturated, because anybody with an iPhone, you know, and an Instagram account is, you know, apparently a personal fitness coach. So how have you adapted? How have you and your husband adapted your business to stay competitive and to keep client flow coming in when you're literally competing with, you know, 5 million kids with an iPhone?
Yeah, you know, what's very interesting is there's a lot of things we've, you know, with new social media platforms, we've obviously changed how we do our marketing a little bit. And, you know, we use Instagram a lot, we use LinkedIn a lot, Facebook still a lot. But the core of what we do is still very, very similar to 15 years ago. And I think it's why we still are strong and why we still stand out, because You know, when it started getting into, okay, everybody's got to have apps, everybody has to have automated stuff. And, you know, now we're getting into more AI, and it's just, it's when people started going less personal, we made the intentional choice of staying extremely personal. And it's why it's very rare nowadays to actually find an online trainer that's had a lot of experience and has been doing this for a long time, that you can actually still directly communicate with them. And it's not just, hey, what did you eat? And, you know, let's do this and change this. We tackle mindset stuff because we know now, after 15 years of working with so many different types of people, it's people need to feel connected, and people need to dig a little bit deeper if they want true transformation. So it's not as easy as just, here, eat this. Some people, that's fine. Other people, it's like, we may have to peel in and dig a little bit deeper and see what's going on as far as like why you're not making the changes, and what's going on mentally, and what's going on, things that maybe haven't been dealt with, so that you can get yourself to a place where then you actually are stepping into consistent, healthy changes. So that's why we're still successful, I believe, is because it is still extremely personal. It is still, it's still customized directly by us. And because people feel such a connection to us. I have people coming back, you know, now that it's been 15 years, it's people we haven't heard from for 10 years. Guys, I was the most successful with you. Can I come back? Like, we have so many repeat people, but it's because we're one of the only systems where they're getting that personal, and they feel like it's more than just, hey, what did you eat? What did you do? Yeah. It's like, it's this connection, even though we never even get to meet in person a lot of these people.
I, being the CEO of a group fitness, a nationwide group fitness franchise called Rockbox Fitness, we have a saying that people will quit a membership, but it's really hard for them to quit a relationship.
Yes.
And that's where, it sounds like you've really built these relationships with your clients, and that's the differentiating factor. Yeah.
Yes.
This segment is sponsored by Rockbox Fitness Franchising. Take control of your destiny and join the boutique fitness revolution with Rockbox Fitness. If you're ready to make a real impact in your community and own your own business that empowers people to achieve their best life, then Rockbox is the opportunity you've been looking for. They provide comprehensive support from site selection, upfit, training, and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with confidence and a strong recurring revenue member base. Visit rockboxfitness.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more about this exciting venture in the fast-growing boutique fitness industry. It's time to turn your passion for fitness and for business into a thriving venture. You talk about mindset changes in your book. So for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm holding up Diana's book, which is Business of Your Body. And the subtitle is The Burnout, Stressed Out, Nonstop Busy Business Professional's Guide to Being CEO of Your Health and Fitness. When you wrote Business of Your Body, you wrote a lot about mindset changes, and you also wrote about the power of two words. And I really want to dive into this because I love this, is the power of I am. I am. So first talk about being talk about the mindset changes that you think need to occur. And then there's some traits that you also identify. And then we'll talk about the power of I am.
Yes. Well, yeah. And you would know this too, being in this space, is like any true transformation, it starts in our minds. It starts with what we're telling ourselves is true of us, and it's what we're claiming as our identity. And so a Business of Your Body, I became a part of a women's group. I was nominated and got into this. I mean, it's an incredible group of women here in Kansas City, CEOs and entrepreneurs, and just phenomenal, like they're ballers, you know. they're so incredible. And it's just such an honor to be able to be with them and connect with them. And one thing I saw, I got into that group in 2015, is these women, and I see it in men too, but for me, this was what struck to me. so extremely successful in business, have all of these characteristics that make them successful, whether they're leading a company or they started a company. They have to have discipline. They have to have persistence. They have to be consistent. They have to show up even when they don't feel like showing up. So these were some of the core things that if you're going to have a successful business, you have to have these traits. I've never met a successful business owner, entrepreneur, CEO that didn't possess those traits. And it was very interesting because I was like, they're so successful in this aspect, which tells me they possess those. Like they possess those traits, but they're not applying them to the business here, but they're not applying them to the business of their body. So all of these things, they're putting everything here. And in the meantime, they're not dealing with their stress well. The chronic stress is piling up and up and up, which is causing mental health issues, which is causing physical health issues. They're not exercising their body. They're not eating well. It's just kind of this, like me, for a lot of them, it's just the impulse or whatever's fast or quick. And so there's this lack of discipline on this piece without the like realizing that if you took care of this first, if this is well, everything on this other piece is going to actually be extremely better, potentially 10 times better. How you're performing, your creativity, your ability to resolve problems, your mental health, how you cope with stress, not getting into depression and anxiety, or having tools of coping with those things, how you deal with employees, how you can relate to your family when you come home, or like all of these things. And notice I'm not even talking about weight. That's a byproduct.
Yeah.
Losing weight and then actually feeling better, recognizing yourself in the mirror, being able to wear what you want to wear when you're going to a business meeting instead of going to your closet 20 times and being frustrated because you don't like how you look and anything. Those are all great too, but there's these deeper things. We even have research that shows that women, I believe it's women who exercise at least 3 times a week, it shows that they make 12% more revenue. So if you're trying to make more money in your business, take care of this first. And that's also going to happen. And it's the same is true for men. For me, it was just, that's what I was working with. And so that's why it was like, oh man, they need these resources. They need to change that mindset of, I don't take care of myself. I take care of all this and I pour everything into this. It's like, but if you actually want the best success in all of that, plus your family, your relationships, your financial, then take care of this first and then see the ripple effects from there.
Why do you think people don't? Because there are a lot of very successful business people and executives who are in terrible shape. And, I'll be walking through an airport and just be like, my goodness, wow, I can tell that they're probably doing really well in business, but not so much personally. And just what have you found to be the mental block, the reason, to quote you, what are you waiting for? Like, how are they answering when you ask that question?
I think the most common things are, well, it goes back to the I am that you just talked to. The story that they've told themselves, whatever the story is that you tell yourself, that's what your life is going to turn out to be. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I don't want to miss out, like a lot of people think that they're missing out on all this fun if they don't have discipline with their eating and exercise and drinking. A lot of times it's a lot of alcohol that's involved with, we got to go to business meetings. I have to be social, so I have to drink, or, so it's really all goes back to the stories that they're telling themselves. But when I take a look at this, I'm like, there's also some extremely healthy CEOs and entrepreneurs that are parents of multiple children, that are married, that travel all of the time. So it's when I hear people say, well, I can't do that because I travel. Well, I can't do that because I have work, plus I have children, plus I have this. It's like any excuse or reason you can give, there's literally somebody that has that exact same situation and maybe even harder, more challenging than you, that is actually making the good choices. So it's like, it's possible. It's really just has to be a reframe of what you're telling yourself. And again, it just goes back to how you keep mistreating your body, it's going to shut down on you. So you're trying to do all of this stuff. Something's got to give at some point, and it will.
I'm a big believer in personal values for a business, certainly values for business, but personal values as well. And it's helped me when you have health as one of your personal values, and something that you value as a human being. Then when you're not living in congruence with those values, it's easier to remind yourself to, okay, we need to come back over here. Having 6 beers probably is not congruent with my value of health. Eating a whole bag of fries, that's not congruent. Avoiding exercise, that's not. And so trying to get back into congruence with your values, I found that's helped me. And I think a lot of people, especially in fitness and weight loss, and love your opinion on this. They start out, they kind of have a goal. It's a little vague. What do you want to do? Well, I want to lose 30 or 40 pounds. Well, is it 30 or is it 40? That's a different journey and that specificity. But it's almost like that they don't even have a roadmap to get where they want to go because they don't know what that looks like. And where in business, it becomes goal setting is very clear for them. They know how to do it, how to assign. But it seems like, some executives can really struggle with that, applying it to their health.
Yeah, I agree. And that is like, I talk about that in the book too. It's like when you start a business, one of the first things you do is you create a plan. Like you figure out how you're intending to get there. And then the only way the business actually comes to be or is successful is if you follow the plan. And that doesn't mean with any business plan, there has to be some flexibility. It's probably not going to turn out like every day is not going to be like, oh, well, this was perfect. Oh, this was like, it's probably not going to be that way. But like what you just touched on is when I am, part of my identity for me is I am a fit and healthy person. That is who I am. That is, if I do something that is outside of that, which I really just don't like, yeah. Like I just don't because it goes against who I am. And that doesn't mean that I don't have cheat meal, or treat meals or whatever you want to call them. It doesn't mean that I eat chicken and broccoli every day. Like that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I have created a normal for my life. I have created a normal situation in my home as far as what I eat on a regular basis. I don't have to think about it. I know what I'm going to eat. And so for me, part of my normal is if we go out to eat, if we do whatever those things are, I don't even worry about it. I have whatever I would like and I enjoy it completely. I don't think, oh, now I have to go and work out for 3 hours because we went out to eat. It doesn't even cross my mind because I know what my normal is. And I know exactly what I'm going to fall back into. So it's creating the mindset of this is who I am. And it's also just, this is my lifestyle. And why is this my lifestyle? It's not because I'm giving up or sacrificing all of these things. I don't see it that way at all. I see what I was doing before as sacrificing so much. I was sacrificing my self-esteem. I was sacrificing my health. I was sacrificing my ability to just enjoy life at the fullest because I felt good physically and mentally. So for me, I'm like, if I went back to unhealthy behaviors, I would be missing out on so much life. And, I'll be 47 this year. And it's like, we go on crazy hiking trips, and like, I love that. I trust my body to go do crazy hikes. We did Norway last year. And it's like, wow. So for me, the freedom of being able to be like, oh yeah, I'll go climb that, or I'll,
sure.
Whatever it might be. Yeah. There's so much freedom in that. And to sacrifice that in my mind, it's like to sacrifice this life I get to live for eating and drinking and living in a body that doesn't feel well. Like that's such a bigger sacrifice to me.
Great reframe too, right?
Yeah.
Just people, you're missing out on a whole lot more when you're winded walking across a parking lot. Like you may not have had the chocolate cake, but for sure. Well then I love because you have this little catchphrase, be the CEO of your own body. And I would love to know, like, because we talk about entrepreneurship on this podcast, and entrepreneurs and executives, we know they go at a certain speed. So how do you specifically teach a really driven entrepreneur to also run their body like they run their business?
Yeah, it's really a reprioritization. And I personally think, like, as far as it's your morning routine is really going to set the tone for the rest of the day. So I always encourage people, like, have a set routine for your mornings. And it needs to start with doing something for your body and your brain, which is, exercise helps both of those.
Yeah.
But I think when you start your day and get it done, because if you don't start the day that way, for one, your brain's going to be functioning at a faster pace throughout the day. You're going to handle everything in the day better. But a lot of times people have I don't have enough time. And it's like, we have time for the things that are important. And so if this is important, then you absolutely have time for it. And you have to take a look at your schedule and see, are there time wasters? What am I doing that's wasting time? Is it television? Is it social media? What is it that is wasting my time that I could actually be working on my health in those times? And again, it goes back to the sacrifice thing. People don't want to, if your mindset is, I don't want to sacrifice these things, you can continue that lifestyle. We each get one body, we each get the choice of what to do with it. So if you want to stay there and you want to stay stuck in that, you can. It's just understand that where that path leads you. And so when the diseases show up and, when all of these things happen in your body, it can't be this shocking, like, I mistreated my body all these years and now I can't believe that I have, whatever it is, heart disease and cancers, and, I can't believe this has happened. Well, if that was the path that you were choosing, then we can't get to the end of the path and be like, whoa, how did I get here? So it's, that's how it's like, you have to reprioritize, stop telling yourself that giving up this other stuff is a sacrifice, because you're actually giving up a lot more by keeping that stuff in. And get that routine, get that morning routine solidified where you're getting your body and your brain into a place where you're going to be your most productive and effective and healthiest for your day.
This segment is sponsored by Beam Light Sauna Franchising. Are you looking to take control of your destiny and own your own business? Do you want a great brand in a rapidly growing market? Well, Beam Light Sauna is a nationwide health and wellness franchise with amazing opportunities in select markets. You can bring the power of infrared sauna and red light therapy to your community while you build a thriving business. Beam Light Sauna offers support that includes site selection, build out, even pre-launch programs and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with a large recurring revenue member base. To learn more about business ownership and franchise opportunities in the fast-growing health and wellness space, go to beamlightsauna.com. That's BEEM lightsauna.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more. If we can just quickly jump in and talk about when you were doing multiple figure competitions, right? Just a high level. I mean, I've known people that have done those, and it is so strenuous on your body for the weight cut. I would just love you to talk about that specifically to get show ready. I was very lucky that even my first couple of shows, I actually worked with coaches. And then from there, I really just coached myself, and I would just try different things. I would try different ways of eating. I would try, just to see how my body responded and to see how I felt my best and how I looked my best. And so I personally never did anything in my preps. I know a lot of people that have starved themselves, that have, gotten extremely unhealthy. For me, I was lucky enough that those early coaches were not ones that I was doing anything drastic. So I lost the 50 pounds. I mean, it took me 6-7 months to lose that weight. So it didn't happen fast. It was very gradual. There was always a focus on maintaining lean body mass. And it's always kind of those last couple of weeks when you're trying to get your leanest. Those are not, people see the pictures of you on stage and in that, and it's like, no, you feel like crap. Like, like when you're when you're your leanest and you're being that type of everything, you look amazing, but like, you don't stay there. You don't stay in that spot, for extended periods of time. But I think it was always fun. I saw it as a game of like, how, like, can I get there? And so, and we still, like, my husband and I will put ourselves through a prep. We're not competing, but we do it every year. And it's almost like this challenge of pushing yourself. And I enjoy the discipline of getting there,
But I also do that knowing that that's not forever, that that level of discipline isn't forever. And then so I have, I know that I'll come back to what my happy place is as soon as that, photo shoots or whatever it is through. But I say that knowing that's actually not as common in that industry. And it's actually far more common for people to do very extreme things, get, and have these massive rebounds. Like once I lost the weight, like even after that first show, I didn't regain a whole bunch of weight because I stayed disciplined with my eating. I just liked how I felt. So I added some other foods in, but I didn't go crazy and start eating everything in sight, which a lot of people do. So for those things, competing is not for everyone. And it's almost like there's people that unless you're really mentally in a healthy place, it can be something that's mentally not well for people either, because you are getting on a stage with other people and being compared to
judged,
yeah, and judged, like literally judged. And I'll tell you something funny for me mentally. A lot of times after shows, athletes will go and they'll get feedback. They want to know feedback. I never got feedback in my entire career. I competed for 7 years, and it was something about, and I honestly don't know why I just had that. I don't need to know what they think. It was just always this, like, if I felt like I did my best, I looked my best, and I beat myself from the last time, then I felt like success. And I also was looking at it as the industry as a whole and making connections and networking and meeting people. And, so it's like, I was successful. I won a lot of shows, but the ones that I didn't win, I didn't go like, what was wrong with me? I was just like, I wasn't what they were looking for that show. And that was okay.
That's a healthy way to do it. I mean, that is a very healthy way to do it. What would you say then, one more question on your book, and then I've got some questions at the end here, but before we get to your book, what would you say then of your business and professional? Is there one moment that you're most proud of in this journey that just stands out that you probably are the most proud of achieving in your business and or your fitness competition journey? Any of that? What would stand out?
I mean, I would say there was some very cool things in the competition side of things, but for me, when I think of the things I'm most proud of, I think of some of the stories of clients that we've helped, and I there's so many. There's one lady in particular I always love to share her story, and she actually did compete. She was 60 years old, and she came to me and was like, she was morbidly obese and had gone through abusive relationships and was now in a healthy relationship with a very supportive husband. And she wanted to pursue dreams that she'd had when she was in her 20s and 30s, that when she was in an abusive relationship, she was told, you can't do that, and so I had the opportunity of working with her over the course of like 2 to 3 years. And it just started with a very basics, and, we got to a healthy weight loss. And then she was like, okay, I want to do this because it was just this dream that I had. And so for me, that was just one of the coolest moments, just to be able to see her. We actually helped start a division that was called the Transformation division that is now like a lot of people do it, but the whole kind of the concept for that started with Hitch Fit and what we were doing with Hitch Fit. So she competed in the Transformation division, and that to me was one of the coolest moments to see her at 60.
At 60, yeah.
Fulfill this dream that she didn't think was possible. But I mean, it was a lot of work and just a lot of change that happened. But life was different. Like, it was like she thought differently. She just believed in herself differently. And she had shared with me later that when she had first reached out, she was considering taking her own life. And I didn't even know that till, a couple years later. And so it's just like, you never know. So those are the things that I'm like, that means more to me than, trophies and magazines.
For sure. That's changing people's lives. So you've written a book, or several books actually, Business of Your Body recently, and that's the one I read. But is there a book on health or fitness or even mindset that you've read that you would recommend to the listeners as additional reading that really helped you?
Yes. Well, one of my other books is called Rethinking Fat Loss, and that's all about mindset changes. But Atomic Habits, I think, is a really good one. There's one called Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Okay.
That one is excellent for just understanding our brains,
Yeah.
And it really is like when you start digging into like how much our lives are just a product of our brain, like what's going on up here, like it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And so, learn about yourself. Those are a couple. There's, oh my goodness, I've got a whole bookshelf upstairs.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
Just good ones.
If you've obviously had this transformation, you're helping a lot of people. You're helping a lot of people with what you do and helping transform their lives. So if we were to fast forward to the end of your life and you're looking down upon the service and you live this long, beautiful life, but a loved one is there reading your eulogy, and he or she is only allowed 3 words to describe you, like 3 descriptors to describe the life that Diana lived. What 3 words do you hope that person says about you?
Whoa. Wow, that's a great question. Oh boy. I just, for me, my faith is like the core of who I am, and that's my foundation. So at the end of my life, I want them to, I don't know if it's 3 words, but I would want people to say that they saw Jesus in me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. That is more than 3 words, but I'll allow
I know,
it.
sport. I'm trying to think how I can get that in 3.
No, that's great. All right. And then the last one, before we have people find out how they can get a hold of you or follow you, be part of your journey. If you had a magic wand, if I were to give you a magic wand, and Diana, you could wave this magic wand and make one big change to the world, one change to the way the world runs or operates or is, and you were to wave that tonight, when we wake up tomorrow morning, how would the world be different according to you?
Man, you're coming with the zingers. Wow, a magic wand. I feel like we're living in a world now where there's so much division and there's so much hatred. And I just wish people would like genuinely love each other, even if we're not the same. Mm-hmm. And I think it would change the world if we would stop just hating people. Just love people.
Yeah. There's be a lot less wars, if any. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah. Well, Diana, how can people follow you, get your books, contact you if they're looking for help? What's the best way to get a hold of you and follow you?
Yeah. Our main website is hitchfit.com, and that's probably kind of the main hub of things. Like my email is on there, all of our social media links. And we also have a retreat business. So there's links to, it's called Soul Fit Retreats, links there as well. And then on Instagram, it's Diana Chaloux. You put that.
Sure. We'll put that in the show notes. Yeah. Spelled differently. Yeah.
But yeah, those and anything you look up Hitch Fit, I'm pretty easy to track down.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, I just wanted to thank you for coming on, and you just have this great spirit about you, and it's obvious you want to help your clients. It's obvious that you want to see people live a healthier life so that they can have the experiences that you're having. That just came out in the way you shared. So thank you for that. And thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.